Hey y'all. Okay, so I have been watching the DNC, so you don't have to. However, I still encourage you all to watch it because, like I always say, never underestimate the Democratic Party. And if they pull a swindle on us, we need to know what's coming down the pipeline. Also, I would have to agree, and I don't agree with the left often, but I would have to agree with Obama that if we do wish to live in some form of a utopia, we do need to start listening to one another. We don't have to agree. We may not see eye to eye, but at least we can tell each other what we need and see how we can meet each other the best halfway. So I watched the DNC, the first one, and last night I was watching the second one. And when they did their roll call, they saved California and Minnesota for last, obviously, because those are the states that both of the candidates represent. And when California and Minnesota was casting their delegate votes for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, it just struck me as odd because do y'all not know what's going on in your state? Have you no idea what is going on in your districts? Have you paid attention to what's going on in the education system? Because this is now the new grading scale that we are on. We are on a new diversity grading scale, a mastery learning grading scale where we are no longer grading children on how literate in a specific subject that they are in. They said that the new way of learning, the material that these children are learning, are presenting challenges in the education system, that they are finding some of the learning tactics to be a bit, how should we say, racist and untrue and have bias behind them. And it is causing certain students of a certain demographic to constantly be at a disadvantage. And so they have now started this new grading scale where teachers will now grade students on how much they tried. They don't grade on how much they actually got correct. They grade on the fact that you showed up today. You did the best that you could today. You gave it your best effort today. You put your name on the paper and you turned it in. Yes, it might have been 2 or 3 months late, but you tried. And so we are on now this type of grading scale so that we can leave no child behind. And it needs to be something for them to not get discouraged and not want to quit and not develop mental health behind not being able to reach the standard, not being able to comprehend the work. They're also saying that a lot of children grew learning disabilities or are a little slower because they went through distant learning where they did not have one-on-one teachers help and they weren't in the classrooms and parents were now their educators and it was hard for them. And so a lot of them are struggling and behind. Many didn't have computers or internet and they didn't have access to their assignments and they couldn't get all the necessary work, all the necessary study guides. And so there has to be something put in place in order to help. And I'm sitting here and I'm trying my best to understand their perspective. But my thing is, this is why I have such a hard time wrapping my mind around what goes on in the Democrat Party, because there is still a standard that must be had. I am not sure how the Democratic Party sees that lowering the standard builds character. Lowering the standard does not build character. It doesn't build accountability. It doesn't make people strive for greatness. There isn't a requirement of more from them. There isn't any pride behind how much work they put in to earn the grades that they got. And then I was wondering to myself, how will this affect them in the long run? How is are we preparing our children for the expectations of life? How are we preparing our children to now meet deadlines? How are we preparing our children to make sure that they do their work with accuracy and understanding? How are we preparing our children for success? How will they pass standardized testing, and how will they pass their SATs? But then I was made aware that prestigious colleges, 4-year universities are now taking the SAT portion off of the application. You don't even have to have SAT scores now to get into prestigious colleges. When did we get here that the bar has dropped so low that we don't even care if you're qualified? There is a quota that must be reached. We are passing our children through the education system so that, because we know that there is money and funding in graduations, and we know that there are raises and promotions, teachers, when they have a high success rate in their classrooms. And so the children do not even need to be smart, knowledgeable, ready for the next grade or the next chapter in their lives. They just need to do the bare minimum, enough to get them through and pass them by. I am all for doing things to help our students catch up, but not lowering the standard to meet them. But I am interested in putting in different ways they can then climb and meet the standard that is expected of them. And it just so happens that the districts that are adapting this grading scale so happen to be in the states that these two candidates that y'all put all of your delegate votes behind, California and Minnesota. These are also the two states that had some of the most extreme lockdown measures. So you lock down the children, putting them at a disadvantage to be in distant learning, and then you lower the standard so they don't even have to exceed past where you put them at. It sounds like to me that your policies and your procedures is what is keeping this demographic marginalized.
Alright, hi calculus students. This video is just a little introduction into our mastery-based grading system. So I know what you might be thinking. You're like, Claire, why? Why can't we just do what all the other teachers do? Why can't you just grade me normal? And like, I hear you, but this is really meant for us to have a more equitable classroom, a classroom that values different types of knowledge and different types of showing how you know something, and that honors the fact that life is wild right now and you might not be able to get everything done by every deadline all the time. So the way final grades will work in this course for you to get a decimal grade will be depending on how many assignments you completed at mastery, how many exceeds mastery scores you have, and how well you did on the concept portfolio. So the concept portfolio involves doing 4 problem sets, up to 8 peer reviews, a summary, and a reflection. So not all of the grade levels require all of these parts, but you'll need to do all of them in order to get that 4.0 that you might be hoping for. But honestly, I think 4.0s are a little overrated, and maybe you don't need that on your GPA. Maybe that's not your goal. So there are other levels, and you can go ahead and look at that ahead of time to know what I'm expecting of you to get every grade level. This is nice if your goal is just to get a 2.0 to pass the class. You can make sure you know what the 2.0 requirements are and meet those, and then feel really confident once that's happened that you're ready to go and you can only go up from there.